Here we go, Skorch the Fears with Mr. Brent Daniels. I'm just going to start off with the classic Steve Trang question. Like, how'd you get into real estate? What was the first thing getting into real estate?
I had this deal with my parents growing up that if I was in sports, I didn't have to get a job, right?
Hmm.
So I went into college with no work experience, and I just thought that that's how you did it. And so I was talking with my buddy Mike Mahoney, my best friend, who is in the hall in my office right now.
Hmm.
And he said, my dad gave me this book called Rich Dad Poor Dad, and I was in college, and I was like, cool, I'll read it. And I read that, and I was like, this is exactly what I thought. This is great. You know what I mean? You own your own business, and then you invest in stuff, and then you're rich and life's great. You know what I mean? So I was like, well, what's the next step? Because Rich Dad Poor Dad is really great at kind of opening and expanding your mind into financial literacy, but it's not like a step by step, this is how you go and make income
Right.
in real estate. So I was like, okay, get a real estate license. And so I did that in college, and then just kind of fell into being a real estate agent at 22 years old, right out of college, and did that for a while, and just kind of cut my teeth in the real estate market as a
Why did
real
you
estate agent.
start as an agent instead of an investor? Did you not know about investing yet, or?
No, I mean, you have to remember, this is 2004. So at that time, the hottest books were like Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Real Estate Riches by Dolph DeRoos, Nothing Down by Robert Allen. And I'm
Mhm.
reading these books, and it's like gibberish to me. I'm like, okay,
Right.
that makes sense. You just go and, if a house is worth 200,000, you give them like 100,000 or whatever. But there
Right.
was no Zillow. You didn't know housing prices. Like the MLS just barely got on the internet. You know what I mean? Like it was a
How did you
whole
do that?
different time.
How did you do that? Like, I just thought about that. Like, I mean, it's right before even the MLS getting on Zillow. Like, how did you even find comps? I've been
They
thinking
had
about
books,
this.
bro.
They had
Jonah,
books?
they had books, giant, huge binders. And I
Where
swear
did
to
you
you,
get the
a-
binders?
and the front of them would have the zip codes and the ones that were active, and then the bottom would be the ones that were under contract, and the middle and the bottom were the ones that sold. So you'd go to that zip code, and then you'd go to that page, and it'd be just binders. I didn't go through that. We had the MLS, but there wasn't access to the MLS. There wasn't Batch Leads. There wasn't PropStream. There wasn't Zillow. There wasn't Trulia. There wasn't Redfin back in 2004. That came later in like 07, 08.
Mhm.
So in I didn't know what properties were worth. I didn't know how to comp them. I didn't know how to have a quality conversation with the property owner. So I was like, okay, well, I'll just go learn real estate, I guess, and figure it out.
I love it. So, okay, that's so interesting to me. Like, where'd you even get the binders, though? Were they in like an agent's office?
Yeah, you would have to get it from your broker.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah.
So it's just so funny to me because I think about it. I mean, like, when did skip tracing become a thing, even?
Skip. Well, I will tell you because I was I was responsible. No, so skip tracing's been around ever since there's been debt collection, right?
Okay.
And so the credit agencies have all of our information. I
Hmm.
mean, all of them. If you go on to TLO, which is TransUnion's data, the credit, everything's attached to your social security number, and they know everything about you. I mean, literally, you can get there's technology in TLO where I can put in your license plate number, Jonah, and find the 10 places you park your car the most,
Wow.
right? So they had all the data of phone numbers,
Hmm.
and they would sell it through their own sources. But my broker at the time was doing a lot of business with short sales in 2011, 12, 13, 14, and had gone through an application process to get skip tracing to be able to call homeowners that were in pre-foreclosure. It was way ahead of its time. And so I had access to that early. And then as I started getting loud in 2017 about picking up the phone and calling people instead of sending marketing or door knocking, all of a sudden these companies started loosening their guidelines on what the data that they sold, and now you have batch skip tracing. So
Interesting.
yeah,
So
yep.
Batch gets it from those guys,
Yeah, I
basically?
mean, Batch gets it from data providers. There's people
Okay.
that buy it from the credit companies.
Interesting. All right.
Yep.
Anywho, that got off your story, but I was just so curious about that because I've thought about that before and I was like, how does that? I just don't even understand how to do real estate at like a systematized level pre internet. It seems
You
like
you would
crazy hard.
it would be referrals. It's
Okay.
all referrals. You build a reputation. It was two things, Jonah. It was referrals and foreclosure auctions.
Interesting. You were in college, read Rich Dad Poor Dad. You're like, this is amazing. You're like, all right, need to do something with real estate, so might as well become an agent because we didn't
Yep.
have YouTube, we didn't have you yet, we didn't have Jerry Norton's, we didn't have all these people on YouTube on like how to do it.
Yep.
So you're an agent for like how long?
So I mean, I've had my license since 2004, but I was being an agent till about 2007 for 3 years. And then I had the brilliant idea of opening up my own brokerage, which would be like an investment slash real estate brokerage. And that's opening up
2007,
opening up a business in 2007 and then getting into a big office in 2008. And then the economic world collapsed in
Right.
2008 and I lost everything. I got a judgment slapped on me for the remainder of a 10-year office lease, which is an interesting thing to happen when you're 26 years old. And so, yeah, it's been, real estate is a wild ride. What I can tell you is you got to make sure that you keep a lot of cash to the side in all the time. You need to make sure that you're building your business, your lead generation to find the best deals on proactive methods, not necessarily marketing, which is reactive, which is inbound as opposed to outbound. Right. And you have to build up a really incredible reputation so that people understand that you're the guy or gal in your market to send the ugliest properties to, and you can get them paid or help out whoever owned those ugly houses. So you got to build up your referrals and you got to be super proactive and you got to really watch how much you spend in marketing, because there are so many people that go out of this business because they make a ton of money and then they give it all back to the marketing companies.
How many?
Right?
Yeah, I'm curious. Like, how many? Do you have any data on this? Because I have no idea. Like, I'm curious if you have data on this of like how many people try wholesaling and then like they go out of business. I feel like it'd be really hard to do it based on like somebody being interested, but like maybe someone who really like was like that, where they like spent a lot on marketing and then they went out of business and like made those mistakes. I'm just curious. Do you have data like that at all? It's okay if you don't.
All of them. No. I mean, honestly, it's if you build your business off of spending a ton of money on marketing, and you don't have, and you're not getting paid several times in the transaction. For example, you source the deal, you sell that deal to your own company. You also own the construction company. You also own the real estate company. You also own a piece of the title company. You also lend money. You do all of these things. That's how you build these big ones that have big marketing budgets. But I don't think, in my opinion, I think the best way to do it is keep it small and keep it all. Keep a small team, make $1 million, $2 million, $3 million, and keep half of it every single year, and just be consistent with that and build a really good reputation where, yes, you're going to have to be really proactive in the beginning to build up a good pipeline of opportunities. But as you keep going in this business, you got to build up your referral database of agents, other investors, friends and family, and everybody sending you these opportunities, because that's how you get the highest margins, because there's no marketing costs. There's no cost to skip trace. There's no cost for to have somebody call those people, and that's more prospecting than marketing. But that's how you really last in this business, is you have to have a referral database or you are done after 5 years.
Gotcha. That is something interesting to think about. I like that a lot, because is that, like, I was going to ask you, because I think we're shifting into a recession. Like my personal opinion is that the Fed is going to keep raising interest rates until people stop spending money, which I feel like would be something like, personally, I feel like that might be something as high as 10%, something like that. But beyond what they're going to do, what would you say to somebody who's starting out and they're like, man, I don't know, like the interest rate market is shifting. Should I really get into this?
Yeah.
Let's start with that person, and then I'm going to choose another avatar. And I want you, because like obviously what you say will depend on who you're talking to. But what would you say to the person who's like, man, I really love real estate. I read Rich Dad Poor Dad, but everyone's telling me interest rates are rising and housing prices are crashing and monster in the sky is going to eat my firstborn kid.
Yeah, I get it. Remember this. Everybody should really remember this. And it doesn't seem like it during a lot of markets, but buyers determine everything.
Mhm.
Okay. If there's not a ready, willing, and able buyer, there's no deals.
Right.
Okay. So the beautiful thing about being a powerful investor is you can always be the buyer. Always.
Mhm.
You don't have to sell your properties once you do put them on, once you own them. You can always be the buyer. Now, maybe you want to do some flips. Maybe you want to do some stuff like that. You will get caught at some point. If you're
Mhm.
developing, you will get caught if you're selling those. If you're developing them for yourself, you will get caught. The times that you get caught are when you sell. As a big, powerful rhinoceros of an investor, right? You are the buyer. Be the buyer. Stay the buyer in your head. And this is what I mean. So doesn't matter how much interest rates are, it doesn't matter the economy, doesn't matter the recession, doesn't matter up, down, doesn't matter because the buyer determines the value. And so there's three parts to this. Okay. The first one is with really, really, really ugly houses, you put those under contract and sell those to the buyers. You sell your right to purchase that to the buyers, and that's called wholesaling, right? You assign your deal, you get it out there, and you sell it to somebody that wants to fix it up, and you make sure that your numbers are right, okay? Really ugly houses. Houses in the middle that are dated, it's like grandma's house or your old aunt's house or just
Mhm.
it's dated. You can go direct to retail, and you can work a partnership with the owner of that property and a real estate agent to be able to list those properties, and the owner gets a certain amount and you get everything above it.
Innovation.
Innovation, baby. You got it. I love it. I wanted to kind of explain it before you threw it out because people really
No, it's good for my
not very,
audience.
it's not very common knowledge. And then the last one is creative financing,
Mhm.
right? See, the thing is, people go, oh, well, if I lock up this creative finance deal, now I have this house in a neighborhood that I don't really like. You can sell your rights to that house. You can
Mhm.
sell your contract to own that property to somebody else for $15,000, $20,000, $25,000. And people do that all day. So
Mhm.
it just depends on which strategy you want to use as you're sitting down with a property owner. And it
Right.
just depends on which one is in their best interest. Because you'll have a conversation with somebody that it's in their best interest to sell it cash as is because you're not getting conventional financing on this.
Right.
You know what I mean? They might sell you a really decent house just because they want speed and convenience. So I
Mhm.
think for your audience, another really key fundamental thing to understand is in every single real estate transaction, there is speed, convenience, and price. Write them down. Speed, convenience, and price. And the seller only gets
Love it.
two. Seller can only
Mm.
pick two.
I'm gonna write that down.
All right.
I
Speed,
like that.
convenience, and price. So if they want speed and convenience, they're going to take a lower price. And then you could
Gotcha.
you could play around with all of those and really understand what we're talking about. If they want to sell it fast and they want the highest price, they're going to be inconvenienced because it's going to be on the market and there's going to be a ton of people coming through their house, right? And
Right.
they have to clean it up and they have to keep the landscaping. They got to keep the kids out of the house and the dogs and the whole thing, right? So that's real estate. Boom.
I love it. I love it.
That's
Just a
the
quick
book's coming
3
out soon. No.
You should make a book. I'd read it.
Yeah.
TTP. Okay, and then the next question, which is related, I want to make it personal about your story too. Is
Yes.
if you could go back to Brent, 2007. He's starting his business. Obviously, he doesn't know what's about to happen. But what are the steps you wish you had taken?
Yeah.
Make sure you were okay. Part of it, you said keep a lot of cash.
Yep.
What were the other ones? And like, how much cash? What is a lot of cash? Like, do we think? Like, does it
300,000 in an account.
Okay, so 300,000 if
Always.
you always. Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha. And this
Before
is just
first pay off all consumer debt, right?
okay,
Pay off all the consumer debt. I'm talking student loans, I'm talking car loans, I'm talking credit cards, I'm talking all that. And I know that that's a Dave Ramsey thing and pay off your mortgage and all that stuff. I am just telling you, people are like, well, that, financially, I could put that somewhere else and make a return on it. Stop it. Stop it. Like,
mhm,
just get rid of the debt because the debt lives in your head, whether you like
right,
it or not. And when you are free of that debt in your head, your brain works faster.
right,
I am telling you, and better and
right,
more creative. But if you're always working to be somebody else's ROI, right? They're getting a
yep,
return on your efforts because you went into debt. Always be in your head and it'll always affect your speed at which you can run. Okay. So
Right.
that's why I say get rid of all of that stuff. So number one, I was wild, right? I went and got the Mercedes. I got the Range Rover. I got this big ass house. I got an office,
How old
right?
are you? How old are
I
you?
was
You said 27?
25, 24,
25?
25,
Classic.
about 20, 25, 26. Anyway, one, really, really watch the debt. Number
Mm,
two is if I could go back, if I could take, the conversation I'm going to have with my son, if he wants to do this type of thing, is you need to go 5 to 7 years of like grind mode where you don't hire
mm,
anybody, you don't do anything. You build the skills of effectively communicating. Because I don't care if you're Grant
interesting.
Cardone or Gary Vee or Mr. Wonderful or whoever it is out there that you're following, all of them have had tens of thousands of conversations with strangers.
Mhm.
All of them are sales. All of them. Life is sales if you really
Life
want to
is
get deep. But sales has this like weird connotation. And I totally get it. Weird people doing sales. Anyway,
that's bad sales. That's like pussy
I'm trying to
sales.
keep it clean. Anyway, but learn sales, learn human communication, learn how to really understand who you're speaking with. And that's a skill that it doesn't matter if you get sick, divorced, hit by a falling coconut, whatever. You can always come back and always be able to be really profitable and build wealth if you understand how to communicate effectively with humans.
I love it. So I want to go into that. So that's really interesting to me. So what do you mean? Because 5 years is a while. Like, what do you mean by like, so for 5 years, they shouldn't hire anybody, like they should be cold calling for 5 years?
Yes.
And okay, so
Yes.
why? Because this isn't my journey. My journey is I started about 2.5 years. I had, although honestly, I had done a bunch of jobs like I had been a door knocker for like this environmental like nonprofit, which is very interesting when you're selling door
Yeah.
knocking for something you're not selling and there's not a thing there.
Yeah.
But do you mean like just make sure you have those experiences, or I really want to know why you shouldn't try to hire people if you feel like you're ready?
No, I don't mind if you have sales experience. And I used to say, don't hire anybody before you have 1,000 conversations with property owners. Nobody
Right.
listens to me. But here's the thing, there's a part of it that is, I think there needs to be a part of your career where you are Michael Jordan on the court.
Hmm.
Okay. You're not the owner of an NBA team yet. You know what I'm saying? And that's that's
Right.
a totally different part of your life. And I'm just saying, if you're starting out and you're really excited about this business and you are, especially if you're younger, but even if you're starting it at any point, I want you to keep as much of the profits as possible. The
Hmm.
problem is people get uncomfortable in that 90 days that it really takes to build the skill of effective communication with property owners. And because of that, they go, well, I'll outsource that skill because I am a
Right.
thinker. I am a visionary. I am here. I want to work on it, not in it. And
Right.
all us guys that are working in it beat you like a drum and
Right.
keep a lot more money and pay off our debts and buy a bunch of properties. And that's just the facts. I mean, you could look all the way down the line to all the successful people. Everybody was in the dirt for a while. Everybody was chopping wood, carrying water. And it's just people want to avoid that because they want the easy path. Well, the easy path does work, Jonah. It does work until the economy shifts.
Interesting. That's so interesting to me. Like that's very interesting in the sense that I still am in my business in the sense of like I've hired acquisition managers, but then I'm also following up on leads. Like
Yep.
I have them, I'm training them, but then I'm also still in the dirt in the sense that I'm still locking up contracts to this day.
Yeah.
I do it with agents. I'm doing agent outreach, but
I love it.
I'm about to go back into direct to seller. The first 6 months, first like 9 months to 10 months, I was cold calling myself. But that was back when I did direct to seller and I did get a bunch of deals that way. But and then I just liked agents more. So I've been going there. But I think I'm going to go back to direct to seller soon.
Yeah. And then you
So,
hire people, right? And listen, this
right.
is very typical. All I'm saying is for you, I would want you to keep 90 cents out of every dollar. You know what I'm saying? You can't do
Mhm.
that if other people are doing different parts. And then we go,
It's true.
okay, but it frees up my time. That's fantastic. What are you going to do with your extra time that is worth more than you were making on those phone calls, appointments, and everything else?
Right.
That's the issue, Jonah. The issue is
Right.
people trade. They're like, "Oh, I'm going to go and I'm going to do. I'm going to open up my schedule," but then they don't do anything. You
Right.
know, I'm not talking to you personally. I'm just saying
I
in
get it.
general, they're like, oh, I'll just be the guy behind the desk, like comping deals. Like what?
Yeah.
Like Jamil Damji, who's the best comper that I've ever been around, used Zillow for the first like 1,000 deals that he did and just did it off of a percentage. Like, what are we talking about here? You know what
Right.
I mean? Like the people that are out there that are really building the skills of communicating and really building the skills of sales and understanding how to solve the problems and really pre-qualify and do the lead follow-up and offer presentation to the property owners are the ones that win long term. Anybody in a hot market can lock up a deal. And the last 3 years have been a hot market.
Right.
Anybody that locks up a deal, you could put it out there, a cash buyer in really popular areas, they're going to get sold. Whether you make
Right.
5,000 or 50,000, they're going to get sold. That's over. That's over for a
Right.
while. For
Yeah.
a while. If interest rates go where you're talking about, I don't
Yeah.
think they'll go to 10%. But if they go to where you're talking about, that's going to totally affect the interest rates that hard money lenders lend with on.
Right.
I mean, that's going to increase what they're at. They were at 10%, 12%. It's going to go to 18, 20%.
Right.
Two, the mom and pops aren't going to be flipping houses.
Right.
So you're going to thin out the herd of your cash buyers and the other investors that you can wholesale to by 80 to 90% of your list.
Interesting.
Yep.
Interesting. So, okay. I just want to make sure I got them all. So we got keep $300,000 in cash.
Boom.
Have make sure if you
Pay off
are
your debts.
still pay off your debts. Make sure you're still in the dirt, and
Yep.
like if you're in that 5-year period. How did that relate to what you were doing, by the way? Like, were you not in the dirt anymore? Is that part of the reason?
Exactly. So
Okay.
I was in the dirt, Jonah, until I was like, oh, I got this money. I got these cars. I can't be making calls. I'm too good for this. I'm too smart.
Right.
I'm literally a prodigy of business. Nothing could go wrong. I am going to literally be the next Donald Trump of real
I
estate.
love it.
Not politically, but of real estate.
I
And
get
I
it.
am going to just, oh my gosh, everybody's going to kiss the ring, baby. Yeah. I am a mega winner.
I
And
love
then
it.
boom. And then the everything getting attached to that whole success and winning and not doing anything. And then it goes way down. And then you have to come back up and fight and claw and scratch. And that's what I did. I did that from 2010 to 2016, from 9 o'clock to noon every single day. I was on the phone calling property owners.
Damn.
Every day.
Nice.
45,000 conversations.
Hot diggity damn, dude. That's crazy. Do you know anyone else who's done that? I don't think I know anyone
Yeah.
else.
Oh, yeah. I know. Yeah. Yeah.
There are a
Like
ton of people.
this is not uncommon in every industry, Jonah. Every industry. If you're in insurance, if you sell hotel reservations, if you sell commercial real estate, you do this for the first 5 years of commercial real estate, or you are fired. And they go all day. You're calling people all day long. I mean,
Damn.
you name the industry, a mortgage broker, all of these industries, they are calling people all day long. They got to build the skills. You're not given anything. You hunt and you eat what you kill. And but we look at it in real estate and we're like, oh, well, I'll just send out some postcards, or I'll just, I'll knock on the door of this vacant house where nobody can answer. And if they do, you probably shouldn't be talking to them because they probably got something stabby, right? Anyway, yeah. So, you got to put in the work, and it's normal in all the other industries, but in real estate we want it easy, and that's fine. That just opens the door for really proactive people to win.
You're getting me hyped. I almost want to go back to cold calling now. Like,
I'm telling you, bro. I am telling you, there is something satisfying, unbelievably satisfying about looking back after those years where, like, tens of thousands of people have yelled at you and rejected you, and you get that thick skin, that rhino skin, and you just communicate with anybody. Everything slides off your back. You don't flip out. You don't worry about things. You're not sitting in the corner. You're not introvert anymore. You know what I mean? Like you're just a different person because you were forced to have more conversations. And I did. I had the judgment. I didn't have a car. My dad gave me an old car. My son was being born in 2011. You know what I mean? So it's like all of these things, really force you to go out and get really uncomfortable. But once you get uncomfortable and win, you're just a different person. It's major change, and all change is difficult. That's why it's like a punch to the gut.
I love it. So you actually mentioned what my next question was because and I was going to ask this question to one day when Steve Trang comes on this podcast, because I know he was an introvert, like in the sense that what do you give that same advice even with different personality types? Like I'm very extroverted. Like I found I have pretty thick skin in general. Like I was like, I can do cold calling. Like it'll suck, but I'm going to do it. Do you give that same advice to someone who's like really not comfortable talking to people in general, like the computer programmer? Like, what do you say to those types of people?
Well, most of the engineer type brilliant brains like that, and I really do think that they're brilliant, are not number ones in this type of business. They're number twos. Right? They're the integrators. They're the ones that keep everything running. They might be 50-50 partners, but they couldn't do it without the person that has the mouth.
So what should they do? What I'm saying? Should they find that person? Like, what should they do for the integrators and engineers? What should they...
For sure.
They should find that guy and just be like, hey, how about you stop using your cell phone? Let me create a whole CRM for you type of thing. You think so?
Well, you don't need any of that for this business. I mean, I did my first $1 million in this thing with a paper accordion binder and just pieces of paper with notes on them. You know what I mean? You don't need any of that. That's all.
Do you have any recordings of that? You should put that on YouTube. That would be crazy.
Listen, a lot of people in our business and any business as entrepreneurs, they love being busy, just not productive.
Okay.
That's it. I mean, if you have 5 or 10 incredible leads in real estate that want to sell, they actually want to sell their ugly properties, then you're set at all times, and you're constantly doing that. You're set. Real quick, and I want to clarify this, Jonah, before we go off top. If you're an introvert and you are very analytical, and you can find somebody that is going to be out there and they're going to have the conversations and they're going to hustle up, just understand you got a timeline there. And make as much as you can, invest it into some really great assets, and rock and roll.
Interesting.
Or just figure out a way to really keep the expenses down and really put a ton into marketing. There are some beautiful engineer types that build really huge businesses like Zillow type, you know what I mean? That do a really great job, figuring that out. But I'm just talking about like us that are just in the streets, that it's a small operation, small business, 1-2 people. Just understand, if you're not hunting for opportunities in this business, there's going to be animosity at some point, just because the partnership is not fair.